Alrighty, guys. Got a very special presentation, my friend Dan, today on how you can 10x your business in 3 years. So we're going to be talking a lot about 3-year vision. This is something Dan studies, like really, you love this kind of stuff, hey Dan?
I do. I do like the big picture thinking and getting really inspired by crafting a picture of what you want your business and your life to look like 3 years down the line, and then reverse engineering what you do in the next 12 months, 90 days, week, and day to get you a little bit closer towards that. So yes, I do love it, Jimmy.
Yeah, I've learned to love it. Like I'm very much like I think I lived in the moment for like many years, and I think one of the worst things that ever happened to us, and the best, was that we grew so quickly, as you get a lot of instant gratification when you like 10x your business in, well, 20x it in 9 months. But now I'm more understanding of like 3-year vision, because I believe it just makes you more patient, makes you more understanding. I'm not sure if that's because I'm getting older, maybe wiser. But now I don't really ever focus on what I can achieve massively in the next 90 days. We have pillars, but it's always like, are we moving towards our 3-year vision? And it's made me a much happier man, much happier business owner, changing my perspective on that. So, mate, let's dive into it. So for people wanting to create their 3-year vision, where do they start, my friend?
Yeah, look, you've got to begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey would say. So, first and foremost, a lot of people are just doing what they're doing day to day, and every day can feel a little like Groundhog Day. You might be motivated, you might be inspired, you might have goals, but where are you actually going? And so you need to take a step back so you can take 1,000 steps forward, and you need to get crystal clear on what your business looks like in 3 years' time. Now, I'm going to give you a number of different categories, a number of different things that you need to develop. Full disclosure, I've pulled some of this out from EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System. And that's a system that I've invested heavily in the last 18 months. So
you love it.
I absolutely love it. I do. I'm a huge EOS fan, massive EOS fan. And really, if you want a really coherent business that you want to scale, definitely do it, to 7 figures and multiple 7 figures, then it's a very good system for you. But even if you're smaller than that right now and you're listening to this is still incredibly valuable for you. So the first thing we need to do is actually just get really clear on your vision. So what is your core focus? And what is your key vision? Like, what you really need to understand the why on the organization. And that needs to be relevant today, but it needs to be relevant in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, and potentially even 10 years' time as well. If you have problem articulating that vision, start asking yourself some questions. Why did I start this business? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? What kind of impact do I want to have? How do I want to leave the world in a better place? These kind of questions can start to really stimulate the creative process. There are a couple of books that are great for also helping you articulate that vision. Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, Changemaker by Dr. John Berardi. A few books really talk about vision and and they have a few really thought-provoking exercises as well. And so that is more of a big picture. It's not a number per se. There's no objective data. We're going to get into the objective data in a moment, but that is more of the beating heart of the business. That is the real, DNA of why you created it, why you exist, and where you want to go. So that's the first point that you want to get very, very clear when you're crafting your 3-year plan. Second is the values to support that. So what kind of business are you going to be? What's your DNA going to be in business? What are you going to stand for? What are you going to stand against? What kind of values are you going to attract? What values are you going to repel? What's going to be the magic of your organization that's going to essentially power it every single day? These are your guiding principles. These are your compass. This is the compass, and this is who you are on the way to your why. So the way I like to think about it is the 3-year vision, or the vision is the big peak on the summit, and your values are who you are every step of the way. That's how I like to differentiate it. So very, very important to get that vision clear and to get those values clear. And if you haven't done so, do the deep work. It will be one of the most valuable activities you do in your business, and everything becomes easier once you define these.
Yep.
So that's where we want to start. That's exactly where we want to start. After that, what you want to do is you really want to get clear on what is your niche. All right. And this is speaking your language, Jimmy. Like, yes, you might have a 3-year vision to have a $5 million business. It might be to have 10 locations. It might be to have a global online program. But what's your niche? Like, what's the gap in the market that you've identified that needs serving right now? What's the problem that needs resolving? You know, there's a lot of people with ambitions in this fitness industry right now. There's a lot of people doing some great work. How are you going to stand out so you're not a commodity? How are you going to make sure that, you know, your niche is a bit of a blue ocean and we can actually get you towards the 3-year? What you're doing is achievable, because if you're just going to do another fat loss program for the general public, and it's not going to be different to anybody, or it's going to be another, you know, circuit class with TV screens, and you're not going to have a particular powerful niche that's going to make you pop, then it doesn't matter how ambitious you are, you're going to be paddling upstream. So that's the next part, is our niche.
So Dan, especially with like niche and vision and values, in the fitness industry, it's not very common that people actually have this dialed in. Now, you've coached thousands of fitness professionals across the world. Why do you think that is? Why do you think no one does it, even though they know it's important?
Look, I think a lot of the reason is we got into this because a lot of people's why when they started was they just love coaching, right? They may have been an athlete themselves. They like exercise. They've got a great transformation story themselves. And so we get in because it pulls us in. It's really like we just love the industry and we love everything around it. We love movement. We love sport. I don't think we often take a step back and go, well, wait a second. What do I want my business to represent? What am I working towards? And we really just go into it, you know, almost on a day-to-day perspective. I think that's a large part of the reason. I think also, people underestimate the value in this. They're like, yeah, vision and values, Dan. Yeah, everyone talks about vision and values. I just need more leads or sales right now. It's just like, yeah, look, I appreciate that. You absolutely need leads and sales every single day in your business. But if you're not, once you define your vision and values, it makes it much easier to develop those leads and sales. It makes it much easier to build that coherent team. It makes it much easier to bring those people into a community and a culture. So I think people underestimate the value. And I think also it's, the reason that people come into the industry, it evolves over time and they haven't gone back and done the ground work. And this is really this is the foundational work that you need.
Yeah, I think, I guess with my journey with vision and values, it was actually when we changed from me to we, when we had a team. So when it was just myself and my business partners, you just kind of just got it done, right? You didn't have to think about it. You didn't have any staff. You didn't have to inspire your staff on one of our things. And I think all companies is every staff member should be excited to be in this company for the next 3 to 5 years. And if you don't actually have a vision and you don't have your values, it's very hard to manage your team and inspire them. So for me, it was that journey of going, okay, I can't do everything now. What are the core values for our staff and our clients that we want to have, and where's this business going? Because if you're pushing towards a vision that's very, very hard to achieve often, it's very, very exciting, going on that process. And so before we move on to other stuff, if someone wanted to, spend some time on their vision and values, how would they start, Dan? Where would we get them to start if they wanted to, do 30 minutes to an hour today or tomorrow? Because everyone watching this podcast takes action. We don't fuck around, bro.
Look, I would get yourself out of your office if you're allowed to during lockdown. I'd get yourself out of your normal workplace, because that's where you're doing whether it's the gym, whether it's your office, whether it's at home, that's where you're doing a lot of the day-to-day work. So the first thing is I would change your environment, because you change your environment, you change your mindset. So I'd get out. I'd leave the phone at home. I'd take a notepad and I'd take a pen. All right. I'd go for a walk. I'd sit on a park bench and I'd just start thinking about, some of those big questions that I asked you to ponder before. Even an exercise that you might want to do is write the words, I envision a world at the top of the page. And then just write, write after that, right? Write how you envision the world that you want to see. And then you can be that change. Your business can be that change. And therein lies some of the DNA and heart of the vision that will articulate.
That's absolute gold. That's very, very good tip. Okay, and mate, with the niche, when you're working with clients, like, so one of my first ever mentors said you can have no more than 3 niches in a fitness business. Do you think that, with the way the fitness industry is changing and there's so much competition, do you believe people can have one niche, or can they have like different archetypes of their niche? How do you kind of structure that?
Yeah, look, I think you can. I say the same, no more than 3. I think really the magic number for a lot of people is 2 in terms of that niche. And so, yes, there is the old, if you got to say it like an American, there's riches in the niches. There is, absolutely there is. But at the same time, you can have multiple niches. You just don't want to spread yourself too thin, because then your marketing message gets confusing. It gets diluted. Like, are you targeting fat loss? Are you doing rehab? Are you doing hypertrophy, or are you training a marathon runner? Like, it just gets very, and look, I've talked about more of the method there, but it just gets very confusing. And so people are like, what is this guy about? Who does he stand for? Who does he serve? So I think less is more when it comes to niches. And a lot of the time you'll see the niches that you select closely interrelated to one another, i.e. it might be, men, 50 to 59 and helping them lose the, middle-age spread. And then it might be females 50 to 59 helping them, post-menopause, for example. There may be similarities in some of the niches. Yep. And look, when you look at a niche, you're not just looking at, a lot of people just look at it through demographics. You're not just looking at demographics. In fact, I think psychographics, behavioral characteristics are more powerful. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. Don't just look at it from a demographic perspective. Have a look at it from a behavior perspective as well.
With what was the word you used? Psychographics?
Psychographics, yes.
You might have lost a couple people, bro. Give me 1 or 2 examples of behavioral characteristics.
Yeah, so a behavioral characteristic, might be, like single dads, for example. Okay. All right. It might be people that are FIFO workers, for example, and don't have access to equipment. So not just like whether they're male, female, how old they are, whether they're, what their nationality is or anything else. We want to have a look at some of the behavior of some of these people. Maybe people that have never been in a gym before. Maybe people that have had, maybe like slip discs. Some of the behavioral stuff that make up your client.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. So we've got vision, values, and then niche. What are the next steps, my friend, for a 3-year vision? Yeah,
so we want to go three uniques, all right? So I really like this, and this is from your EOS, is we talk about USPs. But you really got to have a think about, like a lot of the time I'll go to people, why are you different? I got great community, okay? Why else are you different? We've got a really nice, setup. Like it's a nice functional space. Okay, why else are you different? Like we got My Zone. And I'm like, okay, so pretty much you've just given me 3 things that every gym around a walking distance has as well. They're not 3 USPs. So let's see if we can dig a little bit deeper and go, what makes us special? Like, what is that element that makes us stand out so the consumer goes, I want to see you instead of anybody else? And right now there is a smorgasbord of choices, right? There is more choice for the consumer than ever before. So what are going to be those unique selling propositions that are going to make you pop, that are going to make you the obvious choice in this? So you've really got to think about it and go, all right, well, how do we make that happen? It might be a proprietary process that you have. Yep. You might be first to do something. They're examples of USPs. It might be, it can actually be your technology and it can be your space, but they have to be pretty special to be USPs. So again, you've got to really go, why would people come to me over everybody else? Why would they come to me? And it's a very good question to ask. And it can be confronting because you're like, oh, I'm not sure. Well, let's develop that. Let's get that clear. How do you help people,
Yeah.
Jimmy, identify their USP?
Mate, when we kind of run through it, it's actually all within like the niche targeting that we do. Like I guess it's kind of on the process of having a look over what they can do to like stand out and be a little bit different. In terms of like a program as such, to be really honest, we don't really work on it like a ton. Like within, like the coaching and stuff that we do. It's probably like a little bit of a newer concept. I don't think at Code 5 we had a USP. We just kind of like never really went through this like EOS concepts of stuff. So to be honest, it's a little bit new to me.
I think you guys had them. You just hadn't identified them and communicated them. So, I really do believe you had them being involved with Code 5. Like definitely one of the things that you had was your culture. And that's hard. Like we would need to find a way to communicate that in a way that people understand. But you went into that place and it was electric. Like you went in and it didn't matter what time of day it was. It was just absolutely just buzzing energy. And you would walk out of there with 10 times the amount of energy that you walked in. It was infectious. There's a USP there, and you were the first to market on a lot of things as well in that space, and that is also a USP. USP is very closely, as you said, very, very closely tied to your target market and your niche. So if you haven't identified that, then you can't identify your USP, because it really is, all right, well, what do these people need right now to solve their problems that they're not getting from somewhere else? So that's the question you need to ask yourself. So if I serve the person that's never stepped in a gym before because they've been too intimidated, what's my USP? All right, well, it might be that we don't do any classes for people that are already established with their fitness and strength and their health levels. We only do beginner classes only. That's Steve Thompson's Feel Good Fitness USP. Only beginner classes only. That's it. How many gyms only do that? Not many. So that's a USP. He supports that USP by says, we've got no mirrors. Yeah, no mirrors or anything like that in the whole place. Again, that's a USP. So he's solving this unique problem through his USP. So how are you solving your unique problems of your clients? You've identified your niche. They have unique problems. How are you solving it through your USP? All right. And that's very, very important. And again, this is the deep work. It's not about creating the marketing plan and whatever else for that 3-year vision yet, because unless you identify this, it's going to be a lot harder. But as soon as you identify your niche, your USPs, your vision, your values, that foundational base work, all the tactical stuff gets much easier, much, much easier.
Yep.
And that's why you got to do this big planning.
I might have been missing something, bro. 2 companies never had a USP. I've just never studied it. Okay. So Dan, as we move on from USP, what are the next steps, my friend?
You need so to support that USP, and this could be one of your USPs, you need a signature system.
What are the next steps, bud, after USP?
Yep, signature system.
All right, tell us. You did a good presentation on this last week, actually. People loved it.
Yeah, so
tell us
again,
about the signature system.
The signature system is your proprietary process that takes someone from hell. So they come into your facility and they are in hell. All right. They're coming in there with a frustration. They're coming in there with a fear. They're coming in there with a problem, and it is your responsibility to solve it. You solve it by your proprietary process, which is your signature system. You move them to heaven, and it's a series of steps to do so. And so, we dive deep into that last week. And so you need a proven process. You need a signature system so you can give confidence to your consumer that I can take you from hell to heaven. All right. And that is in itself your USP as well. Now, the next one that you need on top of that is you need a guarantee. And you know this from Sabri Subi. You and I talked about this a lot when his book came out. You want to have a guarantee so strong in your business that it keeps you up at night. Because what happens is when we look at a typical transaction, the risk is inherently with the person purchasing. So I go and I, want to invest in a mentor. I'm like, oh man, I got to go pay my, $10,000. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to deliver the result. Where a guarantee is going to essentially eliminate that risk. It's going to go, we believe in our product so much that if you do not get the results you want, I'm going to double your money back. And so you're just like, well, that's the absolute no-brainer. Like, I either get the result that I want or I'm going to get double my money back. And so it's backing your product so much so that you're willing to uphold that guarantee. A guarantee is going to help you to get sales quicker. It's going to help you to get more trust in the market. It's going to help you just get a lot more traction. We love a guarantee. So that's the next step in terms of achieving your 3-year vision. And I know, Jimmy, you've loved the concept of guarantees in business.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. I think it like, I don't actually think of it as a sales perspective. I think of it as making a company really fucking good. Like, if you promise people something and you're willing to give, like, I hate all these like bullshit refunds that you've got to do like this, like 100 different things to get it. And it's just like magical. But if you really stand by a guarantee, and your company lives and breathes it and you're willing to pay people back the money, makes everyone better. Makes every staff member better. It makes every system better. It makes you fearful of like, what if I don't achieve this? It's absolutely incredible. Obviously, there's got to be stipulations that the client, does in all programs like that. But I think it's absolutely incredible. Yeah, it's something I think about deeply. Yeah, we use that at Code 5. Like, if they didn't lose 3 kilos in their first 28 days, we'd refund them.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
And I to attend 3 sessions and follow a meal plan. 2 things.
Yeah, and I love that you just said what you said. It makes everybody better. Like, how can we make the company better? How can we get the ROI for the client? How, everybody's got to like share and contribute to this guarantee so we can make the product as good as it can possibly be. So I absolutely love that. And then now that we dive into the nitty gritty. So if you want to 10 times, like, that's the foundational work. Don't even think about 3 years, 10 times in your business in 3 years, unless you've done all of what we said. That's going to take you probably a few days. All right. And a lot of it you wouldn't have heard before. And you'll be like, wow, okay, there's some deep work to do. Now we start to go, let's paint the picture, because we can't 10 times our business unless we know what that picture really looks like, unless we know what it looks like in intimate detail. So what's the business do in revenue in 3 years' time? What's it do in profit in 3 years' time? How many members do you have? How many team members do you have? What services and products do you have? How much time are you taking off? How much are you giving to charity? Like, you've got to start getting really clear on the picture and just writing it down, acting as if like this is what my business is in 3 years' time. And so there's a couple of categories to it. This is really the metric side of things. So choose at least 5 metrics: revenue, profit, all right, are definites. You might have number of members in there. You might have the number of locations, number of staff members. Then start to paint a picture in how many people's problems you're solving, what products and services and layers you've added, what marketing you now have in place. All of these elements so you can drive the business towards it every day. Like, one of the big things about growing a business and 10 timesing a business is there needs to be clarity, not just for you, but everybody involved in that business. If they don't know where they're going, if they're not excited about the end destination, then they're not going to be doing their life's best work for you. So the clearer you are on all of this, the more inspired, motivated, and clear they are, the more they're going to be rowing that boat quicker and harder in the same direction with you and everybody else.
Yep. Mate, it all pieces together like really nicely. I think what a lot of people do is they actually start with the last task you gave rather than the first one. I'm saying that like even like me personally, that's how for many years I just did things. I just kind of like it's kind of like goals, right? And like target principles rather than actually working on the fundamentals of the company.
It is. It is. And that's why we got to put that place first. That is the foundation. You will 10 times your business once you get that in place. But it's the inverse for a lot of people. A lot of people are like, well, I need this first. They haven't solved this. And then they're therefore pushing the proverbial up the hill because they haven't defined their niche. So they target everybody. They haven't defined their USP. So they don't know how to communicate how they're different. They have culture or community because they haven't defined vision and values. And so it really makes everything difficult. And you're literally, now you're not rowing the boat on a nice, smooth ocean. You're rowing it through mud. And that's not what we want. So we want to get that in place. Then we, work towards that 3-year vision that we've clarified in intimate detail.
Awesome. And mate, for anyone who wants to contact you about this stuff, where's the best place for them to have a chat with you?
Mate, just reach out to me on DM. If something I've said today resonates and you're like, man, I need a signature process, or I need a USP, or I'm not sure where I want to get to, or I need help with these vision and values, then just reach out to me. Facebook, it's Daniel Henderson. I'm really active on there. So definitely there is a good place to start. Otherwise, Instagram, the Coach of Coaches, and I'll be able to point you in the right direction of some really good resources. And we can help actualize some of this for you so you can 10 times your business in 3 years. You can feel confident, you can feel clear, and we can have your team really unified and inspired towards achieving this.
And what's a rough time? It took us a fair while to figure all this stuff out when we did it. What's a rough timeline, to get everything done? Because I don't want people to go in and go, hey, yeah, you can just go for a walk on the beach for an hour and you have it sorted out. What's like a realistic timeline to, have, their vision, the values, like their USP, all this kind of stuff mapped out in D?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I'm working with a few people and we probably take about 90 days to really nail this down because we want to do appropriate market research. We want to test it. We want to refine. We want to iterate it. I want to challenge it. So, we're looking at a 90 days to really formulate this to this level of detail.
And over the 3 years, will there be like many changes along the way, vision, values? Do you give much room for change there, or it's pretty much locked in? How does that kind of work?
Yeah, so generally what I'll do is we'll get really clear on the 3 years. Then once we get really clear on the 3 years, we'll do a 1-year plan. Once we do a 1-year plan, we'll do a 90-day plan. And so you're constantly working towards the bigger picture. But every 90 days, you might go, well, look, this is what we said in 3 years' time. Is that as relevant right now? Like the industry's changed. Maybe instead of doing, retreats, we're now going to do an online hybrid version instead. So we're going to remove one of the layers or change that. One of our values was, empowerment. Is that as relevant as it is today? One of the ones that I keep hearing in our team meetings is solution focused. Maybe we should substitute and plug that in. So it's going to evolve because you're seeing how much the fitness industry is evolving right now. You're seeing how much the world is evolving right now. So the 3 year is not locked in concrete. You're definitely going to be refining some of those elements. You don't want to be doing so every single day, but you want to be just examining it every 90 days when you plan it out. Look at that 3-year vision. Is that still as relevant right now? Is it, what do we need to change about it? So every 90 days, I'd be upholding that 3-year vision and just questioning it, holding it under the microscope and ensuring that it is the roadmap that's going to get you to where you want to get to.
That constant review process. All right, mate. Thank you so much for today. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Absolute pleasure.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank